7 weeks, thousands of miles, countless coffees, a few disasters, and one very faithful BMW R1250GS. But the real question is, was my trip worth it? So in this video, I'm going to give you a real breakdown of the costs of my trip. What went well, what went wrong, some of my favourite places, the performance of the bike, and also about how I felt at the very beginning of the trip compared to the very end of the trip. So if you're new here, my name's Heath, and this is my 7-week solo motorcycle trip across Europe on my BMW R1250GS. This isn't a cinematic video log, this is just a breakdown of the adventure that people always ask for at the end of a trip. So I'm going to cover where I spent my money and what I spent my money on, some of the places I enjoyed, some of the places I didn't enjoy, some of the gear I used, some of the gear I didn't actually use and ditched along the way, and whether I would do this sort of trip again. So let's talk about the camera gear I used while I was away. So I did take a GoPro 9, and that was on the handlebars, but I never really used it as such. But I used the DJI Osmo Action 4, which I'm actually recording this on. And I also used the DJI mini mic. Now these are great, these little mics. They work at quite a distance, but they are really easy to lose. So I think I lost one or two on my trip. Luckily Kim brought me out a spare one or two. I have two now, one I'm recording on and another spare one. And I also use them to do some audio dubbing on the videos. So that's the only camera gear I really took. I didn't take this large tripod. I took a small tripod, but I never really used it. So let's look at some of the stuff I would always travel with. Firstly would be these running tops. They wick the sweat away really quickly. They're easy to clean, wash, and they dry really quickly. I have long sleeves and I have short sleeves. They're a little godsend, especially when the weather was hot. That underneath my Oxford, Arizona vented jacket was a little godsend. And talking about jackets, this Packer Mac, really useful for walking around town and that when it was a bit cold or cool, it was going to rain. But ideally, when I felt that I didn't want to put the big BMW jacket on, but I just wanted to keep warm, or it was a little shower, I could put this over my vented jacket. That was a little godsend. One of the other things I used was I bought this lock. It's about 2 meters long, because when I was off the bike, I wanted to be able to tie my jacket up and the helmet and leave it locked to the bike. Just a bit of a security. So that's a really useful tool and I use that quite a bit. The other thing I used was a plug-in, European plug-in charger that's got a normal 3-pin for us and USB charging. Proper little godsend with the amount of stuff I was charging up. So the other godsend was the Interphone Avant headset. Brilliant, because I could just plug my music in and listen to that while I was traveling, make a few phone calls or receive phone calls while I was traveling. So this kept my sanity going for quite a while. Let's talk about some of the stuff I took, which was really dead weight all the way around. So I took this like a sleeping bag liner, just in case I was staying in a cheap hotel and I thought the rooms weren't that clean. I never used it, it's still packed away, so that was a waste of money. I camped one night and decided it wasn't the way for me to go forward, because packing gear away when it's raining, trying to keep your motorcycle gear dry while it's raining, just proved too much of a struggle for me. So I threw away the tent, threw away the sleeping bag, gave away my micro chair, and had Kim take some of the stuff back with her that I didn't use, like the blow up mattress, which was useful. I kept the cooker for a while, and the pots, and the wind cheater for the cooker, but ultimately I wasn't using it that much because I didn't really stop on the side of the road to make a cup of tea or anything. A lot of the rooms had kettles, so in the end Kim had to take that back with her as well. So that was a lot of dead weight and a lot of room I gained from that, sending that back with Kim. So I did take the first aid kit, and this is one of the things I don't think you could do without. But ultimately, I only really used this after bite gel stick, a few paracetamols and no plaster, but I didn't use anything else. So my only word of advice is, if you don't think you're really going to use it and it's not essential if you break down or something happens, leave it behind. You're not potentially going to be in any third world country, so you can go and buy it if you need it. So some things went better than I ever expected. I did plan this trip to the 8th degree, but ultimately I didn't end up following it. I planned the night before, ready for the following day. So I never knew where I was quite going the following day until I got to my hotel that evening, looked what I wanted to go and see and do, then I would book my hotel. So I didn't meet many bikers on the road. I did meet a few hotel owners who were keen motorcyclists, so they were always chatting to me. But I tell you what, this trip was a real eye-opener for me. The roads in Eastern Europe and Greece were absolutely unreal, and the BMW didn't miss a beat. And I really got into this trip as the trip went through, and I could have gone on for months and months, but reality is you have to return home sometime. So I was fairly lucky with the weather. Northern Europe was a bit wet and damp, as it always is. South downwards from Poland was great. A real ropey day was the Albania trip when I went through that thunderstorm and heavy rain. I'll put a link to that video up here. But yeah, that was probably the scariest day I've ever had riding in wet weather. It was so bad you couldn't see very well. It was all misted up. The traffic was just overtaking other cars because they couldn't be bothered to queue. So that was pretty scary for me. So I'm in the sat-nav, Eddie's own way, doing things sometimes. I learned to live with that. I'm not sure. It's probably something to do with the settings I've not done, but yeah, he took me all sorts of wonderful places. But what the video doesn't really show, earlier on, and I know they weren't very good then, but I had a real mental wobble that I can't do this trip because I was going to go away for 12 weeks. I only ended up doing 7 because I cut Turkey off. But yeah, Kim would testify to a number of phone calls she had about me, like questioning, was I doing the right thing? You know, I'm on my own, traveling around, anything happens to the family, how did they get hold of me quickly to get back and all that sort of stuff. But ultimately, I think when I stopped trying to plan the trip so much and just live day by day, I found that was a release in my head to go, right, I only got to worry about the next day, don't worry about anything else, we'll take it as we come. So it is a bit of a roller coaster ride, but yeah, it was worth it in the end. So let's talk about the real star of the show, the BMW R1250GS. What a machine. This bike, as you saw, was loaded up to the gunnels. This thing, whether I was cruising down a motorway, riding through cities, or up in the mountains doing hairpins, this does it all. And I never felt I had the wrong bike anytime. Even on some of those dirt tracks with these allegedly 80-20% tyres for doing a bit of off-roading, I never felt uncomfortable on it. And talking about comfort, the seat I found really comfortable. I didn't have any gel seats or mesh seats on it. I find it really comfortable to do hours and hours and miles on. I've got to thank Mostar, BMW Mostar in Bosnia for servicing the bike for me on my way around, who squeezed me in. And I need to thank the guys at BMW at Bucharest who saw me at the drop of a hat because the bike threw a fault when I nearly dropped it. I emailed them that evening. They said come in the next day, and I did, and I was gone within 2 or 3 hours, and all that was wrong was the tilt sensor. Fuel economy, I average about 60 odd to the gallon generally, a bit less on other days when I was riding in those mountains, but yeah, I was a bit more than I thought I would get out of it. And also the tyres, they've probably got another 2,000-3,000 miles at least left in them yet, so I am happy with that. Would I take this bike away again on a trip like that? Absolutely. This does it all for me. So let's talk about some of the places I stayed on my trip. So Radisson Blu Hotel in Krakow. Kim and I stayed there for 4 nights. Bar, restaurant, lovely rooms, and only a short walk into the major part of town. So the second place I really enjoyed was Olympia. This is Olympian Altas Hotel. The owner was really kind to me, really looked after me. There was a supermarket across the road, and it was only a 10-minute walk to Olympia. The next one's got to be Polly's Guest House. It was an amazing stay. The owner was really great. The rooms are sweet, parking for the bike around the back, and then the restaurant up from Polly's Guest House was just so friendly and amazing. I had a great meal there. And this casa in Bran, Romania was really great, not too far away from the town centre. Food was great, the accommodation great, and the family really looked after me. And my worst day, as you could probably guess, was that night I did in the tent. Never again. Well, I'll say never again, but not for a long trip. Hotels all the way for me. So If I was to go back tomorrow, these places would be top of my list. 1, Greece for the roads. Some of the roads are amazing, especially up in the mountains. 2 would be Poland for the scenery. I felt like I was driving through woodland all the time. I really enjoyed Poland a lot, and Romania. And for the atmosphere, well, I enjoyed all the atmosphere of all of them. I particularly liked where I stayed in Croatia and I was down by the waterfront. It was just a nice, calming, chilled atmosphere. I loved it there. Okay, so the bit you've all been waiting for is how much did I spend on this trip? Well, here's a breakdown. My extras, such as extra cash, some tolls, glue, deodorant, haircut, stuff like that, cost me just over £500. Getting the bike serviced and service while I was away and a set of tyres before I went on the trip cost me £910. So my entry cost of some of the stuff I visited was just under £250. Food and drink was only £1,450, so that's a little surprise. And my biggest cost, of course, was accommodation at £3,200. So fuel was only just under £900, and my ferry trips there and back to France, one was an overnighter, was only £384. So the grand total of £7,584, about £154 a day, which I don't think was too bad considering I did hotels all the way around bar that one night camping. Thanks for sticking around to the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed the breakdown of the trip, particularly the costs, because I always get asked how much did I spend and where did I spend it on. If you have any comments or questions, leave them below in the comment box. I will answer them. If you want a trip GPX file, I can do that for you. If you want to see the spreadsheet, I can send you the spreadsheet with my day-to-day cost of doing that. I do have another trip planned for this year to go back to the Balkans, because some of those countries I just quickly passed through, so I need to go back and revisit them. So if you like the video, give us a thumbs up. If you're not a subscriber, you should subscribe. Until the next time, adios my friends.